Hey YouTube! Today I'm going to be doing a deck review, which I haven't done in a while, but these are some of the most popular videos on the channel, so I want to try to do some more reviews since I have a collection of probably over 50 decks at this point. And today we're looking at the Wanderer's Tarot by Casey Zabala. So the Wanderer's Tarot actually comes in two different versions. I think they're called Lunar and Solar. If I've got that right, but this is the white on black. You can also get black on white, so really up to your preference. But I love this beautiful white on black look. I worked with this deck a lot in December. I found it to be really good for the there was kind of like a void period, or a lot of theme of the void around astrology in the end of the year, and this deck for me really spoke to that. So it comes in a nice little hinged box. You can see the elements of the deck shown here, and then let's get the cards out. So in terms of a guidebook, it's not quite a full book. It's a little like fold out situation. So we have this little manifest yourself, a brief kind of introduction to the deck, a description of the suits. I kind of wish that there were pictures of the suits, because as we'll see, I find that the moons and the stones in this deck are actually kind of hard to distinguish from each other. That is one critique I would have of this. There's a little cheat sheet on numerology and the court cards. The court cards in this deck are a little different in that the Wanderer, which is the knights in a traditional deck, is last, because the Wanderer's Tarot, this is really a kind of knights focused or wanderers focused deck. So Philosopher is what we would normally call the page, Goddess for queens, Prophets for kings, and then Wanderers. You can see little major arcana sheet as well. If you open this up, then you have, did I miss anything? No. Then you have kind of a full page situation that has each of the suits and a little verb, the element, and some keywords, signs, etc. So for example, for the knives, which are swords, you have to know air, thought, intelligence, mind, swords, challenge, winter, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So if you need a little reminder, that's there. But there aren't really, full definitions or interpretations. So the deck itself, my hands are, I would say, fairly medium size, so you can see a comparison. So they're on the larger side. I love this gorgeous black matte edging. Now they are matte cards. They feel wonderful. I will say I find them a little more challenging to overhand shuffle than some other kinds of cardstock. A lot of times I do find that matte is more likely. These don't stick exactly, but they can be a little harder to shuffle. But it's just my preference, because I don't like bending, that I don't riffle shuffle. These are the backs. And so the print on these, it almost has a feel of a chalkboard. So you can see it's kind of sketchy designs, and with that black matte, it kind of has a feel of chalk on a chalkboard. The cards are fairly, I would say, fairly kind of pippish. In the minors, they are somewhat abstracted. I find that these read really well. To me, I think they're really evocative, there's a feeling and energy in the cards, but it's not, you're not seeing the direct Rider-Waite images necessarily. But there's a lot of evocative things, you'll often see things the missing head here. And so you this is good if you like a deck that is somewhat intuitive, where you can kind of get the meaning out of it. The one thing you'll see, I don't know if this is technically white or silver. So it's like white on black, but it's kind of almost silverish. I don't know how to describe it. I really like that effect. It kind of almost glows or rises up from the card. Now, so I love the art. I like the kind of abstract nature of it. Like this, for example, this Temperance card, like you kind of have the feeling of a face, but then it's this like mountains and maybe water pouring down and kind of pooling and then ending up on the fire. So you have that water and fire, but it's not, you know, the figure like standing with the water by the edge of the river kind of image. So I love the majors and the quartz in this deck. I will say that sometimes it can be a little confusing. So I already mentioned that you can't always tell whether you're looking at stones or moons, depending on the card. Like this one's pretty clear because you've got the stone in the middle there that's not round. I can tell that this is stones. But not always. Here's it for comparison. Like here's a moons that's fairly clear because you have different phases of the moons. You'll note though with cards like 5 or 10 that you can't necessarily tell which is reversed and which is upright. And I don't know if that's intentional. Like for some of them I have a clear feeling, like the 10 of moons, I would definitely expect this to be upright because it's that balanced feeling of a pyramid, like that being a 10, that makes a lot of sense. This one, the 5, like I guess because of the way the feet are, this is probably upright, but I'm not always totally sure. So, you know, that if you do read reversals, that might be something that can get a little bit annoying if you're not sure. Or maybe it's a positive, like, just kind of depends, but they're all Roman numerals, so you'll have this problem with basically anything below a 6 and with 10s that you can't necessarily always tell which way is up. But you know, I don't find that tracks terribly from reading with this deck. Again, it feels very intuitive to me, so almost the orientation of the cards in the spread for me is more what I read from. I really some of the court cards I really like. Oh, Judgment is also really good. This eye watering the tears watering the plants. I really love that image. I like the court cards in this deck. I like the way the bodies are kind of, let's see if I can find an example. The way the bodies are a little bit almost like, here we go, Prophet of Moons. So you do have like the head is often the symbol, or it's missing or something. They just, to me, have a really like strong sense. Not necessarily the exact sense that I would normally interpret the corresponding card and say Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but they definitely have a feeling for me. Oh, here's another example of a court card. So this is the Prophet of Knives, and that almost like scarecrow kind of feeling with the knives for limbs is just, I think it really gets you to think. So I definitely recommend this deck. I think it's a great deck for doing, like I said, kind of void or shadow work, doing personal exploration where you are, where it is actually a positive thing to have more abstract or pippish cards, but not so basic and stripped down that they don't have an energy of their own. I would definitely recommend it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy deck reviews, and leave a comment below if there's a particular deck that you would like me to review next.